mossing kids in high school. You know, they just couldn't compete with him. He's so big and strong. But up here, these guys are big and strong too. So he's had to learn how to be more of a technician. Vandrevius Jacobs already has that. So it's good. I want to see those because I think Hakeem has come on the last week or so. I think we've seen him look a lot better. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a good day.
But I'll pivot and turn, and I think the story of camp to some degree because of the offensive defensive line, which is really the story. It has been Vandrevius Jacobs.
Yeah.
And you're right, Hakeem has come on, which everybody will breathe a sigh of relief to know that he's starting to look better. But, hey, listen, All-Day Dre is the man right now. Do we really believe, the three of us, do we think that this is the guy that's going to be the number 2 or 3?
Oh, for sure. I think so
in year one.
I think the way I look at it now is I think Kentron has made a nice run at the number 2, being the other other wide guy opposite Johnny. And then Vandrevius, I think, could be your slot guy. Like, he's a nightmare in the slot. Like, he's really, really good. I think I don't know if he's going to start against LSU. Actually, I'd be surprised if he did. I think he's going to be in the rotation and play a lot all season.
Think about the fan base, though. You know, like we are at practice every day. And so, you know, it's not news to us when he has another good day. Jacobs, that is.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of this fan base, like when we go to that game against LSU in Orlando, if all of a sudden there's a kid that's a true freshman and he's got 5 catches for 74 yards or something like that, who the hell is this kid?
Right.
You know, I mean, like, obviously they follow recruiting, they've heard the name, but I don't think anybody thought that a guy would come in from the outside on an established team with a deep roster and a deep receiving core and like find his way towards the top of the playlist really early on. And I think he's going to.
Yeah, especially not that guy, right? If you thought it was going to be one, it was going to be the Hakeem Williams guy, but it's not. Hakeem might be, like we talked about, he's been better, but I don't foresee him, unless he makes major strides in August, being a part of the rotation like I foresee Jacobs. Like, Jacobs is a guy now. Like, I think you go into it knowing what he is. Like, he's a guy that's going to produce for you. We don't know that about Hakeem yet.
Well, it's really opened up. Micah Pittman not being available. Winston Wright still coming back from his injury from last year.
He's limited.
He's been limited,
Well, they're still coming back. Coming back.
Limited.
And so, that's opened the door a little bit. And he's jumped right through. I mean, he's been impressive. There's no doubt. But I do think the one thing I would say about Hakeem is I still think his upside may be higher. I mean, he's got the NFL body.
No, for sure.
So he looks like an NFL tight end. Yeah.
You look like an NFL tight end.
Thank you, baby. But what I'll tell you, I mean, the weird thing is he's such a big guy that it is funny. We made jokes about it. You know, I said on the air that he's a couple slices away from being a tight end. But if he can keep his weight and be at 220, he's going to be a problem for people. I mean, he's a monster of a guy. I do wonder 2 years from now what he is in terms of size because he's already such a big dude. But they have so many options now. When we talk about big guys, it's a big receiving core, 3 very big and talented tight ends now that they didn't have before. Yeah. You know, think about their options in the red zone. We brag on this team a lot, but I think for good reason offensively. The question marks coming into the spring game and the question marks that I think will carry over into the season are no doubt going to be on defense. In my opinion,
can anything be answered tomorrow for you on defense?
I don't think so. Yeah. I mean, you'd like to see a safety have a good day.
Right.
You'd love to see a corner have a good day. But really, what's going to get answered on defense tomorrow that hasn't already been answered or, we're wondering about coming into the game?
If it looks like the Gators spring game, you might be feeling pretty good about the defense.
Yeah. That didn't look great.
That was an ugly day at the office.
Yeah, we'll sign up for the Thursday night game when nobody else is playing, and then maybe that wasn't the best idea.
Make fun of us on Twitter? Yeah.
Well, by the way, I mean, who is it you brought in? I mean, you think about Mertz. I mean, we all watched how terrible that kid was already. What did they think was going to happen?
Now they're looking at the portal.
Yeah, now they're looking at the portal. But that's not what we think is going to happen tomorrow for Florida State. Although, I will warn everybody, it is a spring game. Spring games can be choppy.
Yeah.
And, they're not always the most enjoyable watch. We'll see. I'm not trying to scare anybody away. Hopefully they learned the lesson from last year. Let's not start with 2-point conversions in the red zone there and see if
and then the guy Rodemaker we talked up all spring, and then he's got it's a 2-point conversion, so it doesn't matter if he throws it. But the problem is, it doesn't matter if it's picked on a 2-point conversion. You just didn't. You at some point you got to throw it in. You got to throw it in there. But we all thought it was goal line, and then it's like, oh God, this guy just threw a pick on his first play.
After we had talked him up
the whole time. So hopefully they don't do that. Yes, correct.
Yeah, wise not to do that. It was also crazy windy last year. I think they're going to be a little bit more productive this year because they're not having to deal with 45-mile-per-hour winds like they were last year.
Yeah, I think they also try to control the expectations by calling it a spring showcase. They didn't call it a spring game. They're calling it a spring showcase. So we're not exactly sure how much those guys, like, is Jordan Travis going to play 2 series, 3 series? I mean, you think he's going to play a half?
They can't hit him, so I wonder. You know,
they can't hit him. I would think 4 or 5. Yeah, I think 4 or 5. You got to give at least people some of the.
Well, and you want the starters to have reps with the starting quarterback. I mean, you got to
play the hits.
Foot forward, yeah.
Like Taylor Swift, Corey. You got to play the hits.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. So I got to imagine that it'll be a little bit more efficient tomorrow, a little bit better played. We hope. The lessons have been learned, but they're also better. And I would argue that the other thing you're going to want to watch tomorrow is we've talked a ton about the size of the offensive line, the size of the defensive line, and the amount of the depth that they have at those positions. You're going to get to see all of that tomorrow, and they will play those guys. I mean, think about the interior of that defensive line. Those guys are playing. And you'll see Darrell Jackson, many of you, for the first time because he was at Miami last year.
I wouldn't mind if they just did some one-on-one pass rushing, some of the stuff we see at practice, where they put Jeremiah Byers against Jared Verse or Julian Armella against Gilbert Edmond. I mean, those reps are fun to watch. And, it's going to be during a game, you're going to have to focus on that. But I think I would encourage you, if you're watching the spring game, try to focus on that line of scrimmage because there's going to be some really good battles.
You know what I want to see? You brought him up the other day. He gave up another long touchdown kind of ish play on Thursday. I want to see Fintrell Cypress have a nice afternoon. Like, turn it on a little bit if he's in a game that matters. I know it doesn't really matter, but it's still a practice to him. But I want to see him start stepping up.
I don't feel like this spring has been his time to shine. I feel like Fintrell's kind of like, I've played a lot of football.
Right.
I get this. And listen.
Maybe he's really good friends with Kentron. He wants Kentron to shine a little bit.
It's not abnormal, though, for veteran players who've been around a long time to kind of spring football.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get excited about it when you've got an entire offseason. He's also learning a new defense, and then he's got the fall to prove himself. I think he'll be fine because we've seen him play at a high level in the conference.
Yeah, and
he's already done it.
I actually got a phone call from a friend of mine who, in the media, who was asking, who would you rate the highest, of the transfers Florida State brought in, how would you rank them? Who would be the 3 you'd put at the top of the list? And they brought up Fintrell Cypress because on the On3 rankings, I think he was the highest going into the portal. And I was curious what you guys think. I think I talked about I don't know. I think I went with Jaheim Bell first. I think that was my number one. Of the transfers that came in terms of making the biggest impact, I think I went with Jaheim Bell.
Well, he's versatile and talented. He looks like an NFL tight end, so I understand the pick. I think that's a really good pick. Would you argue?
No, I mean, I might.
I mean, it's hard to put an offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Darrell Jackson might.
It's hard to know the offensive line. You're right, because I think Jeremiah Byers is clearly going to play and play a lot. He's going to start. But
how do you quantify that?
Yeah, you don't. Casey Roddick is going to play somewhere, I think. My man needs to snap the ball higher. Just snap it higher. Just snap it higher, Jeff.
He may end up at a guard.
I mean, it's crazy.
We might need Corey to give a little pep talk because let me
give him an insight into what it's like to be on my team.
If you're ever in a foursome in a charity golf tournament with Corey Clark, and maybe you're not playing great, you're not scoring real well.
Yeah.
Corey will just start. He'll chastise you.
Yeah. But in a challenging way, tough love to get him going.
Yeah,
because I know I know I'm
trying to push the right button.
Yeah, I'm trying to push the right button.
Not everybody.
I couldn't find the button on Ira to push.
Not everybody responds to being called a bitch.
I know.
You can't do that.
I tried the first board 5 times, and after that, I was like, you know what? Maybe you could try a different way.
The best part of the whole afternoon with Ira was. He's walking on the 18th green, the last green. He goes, you think, because he's just mad at the group in front of us. He goes, you think a jackass knows they're really a jackass? And he's saying that
it was not the group in front of us.
Lining up a putt.
It was not the group in front of us. It might have been the group the side of us or 2 behind us.
As Keith was in his backswing on his putt, Ira said, you think a jackass knows he's a jackass? I'm like, I think Keith knows you're one.
Golf etiquette is
no, it's lost on us, and we're not golfers.
You played all right. You guys had fun today.
We had a great time.
You had a really good time.
For charity.
That's what matters. I'm being told we have to take a quick break here. We're gonna 60-second break, just a 1-minute break. We want to certainly promo all the stuff we're doing tomorrow.
Don't go away.
Yeah. So one thing I will say, do you want me to promo that, Tom? That's how professional we are, or are you just gonna do it right here? All right. Well, then we'll take that break. You guys watch it. You'll see all the goodness that's going to happen tomorrow for the spring football extravaganza. There you go. Woohoo! Woohoo! And on a glorious Libations Friday Seminole Headlines edition from the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
I like it out here. We should do it out
Loosey-goosey
here.
indeed. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Hope all is well as we continue on a little spring showcase conversation about what's going to happen tomorrow and all that we're going to do. If you're watching at home on Warchant TV, then you saw obviously exactly what's going to go on. We'll have the pregame show at 1 o'clock. Looking forward to it. Yep. Myself and T. Lizzie from Hotel Indigo up there on the roof. Always a good spot overlooking the intramural fields and the stadium in the background there. They're going to have registered sausage.
Yes.
Registered Indigo sausage there, and obviously get you a beverage.
I think my mom and sister
Frosty,
are watching this.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And
and we'll all be out there. You'll be on camera, but Corey and I'll be there lending moral support.
Eating sausages.
The whole staff and eating sausages.
Eating sausages and maybe having a mimosa or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the possibility exists, right?
Probably a lot of water. I think I might have a lot of water tomorrow.
So? All right. Well, point is, we'll be doing that from 1 to 3, and then folks can mosey on over. Also, I do want to remind, because the Battles Inn has been so good to us, and we're a huge sponsor of today's events, if you guys want to get pictures with the players,
right.
Almost all of the players from Florida State's football team are going to be out there over by the stadium.
So you're talking about maybe Jordan Travis?
Yes.
Fitzmagic?
Going to be there.
Okay.
Signing autographs, taking pictures,
That's right.
kissing babies.
Kissing babies.
Doing all that stuff. But it's a really tight window. It's like 11 to 12, 15. I mean, that's about it. So if you're going to do it, you got to get over there early and get that picture, and then come on over to Hotel Indigo and get yourself a cold beer and some tasty register sausage and enjoy the afternoon before you go into the football game itself. So that's kind of the stuff that's going down tomorrow. We look forward to that. And then I really do look forward to, I'm kind of curious, guys. I think the next big story in the stories we'll be talking about, and this will be this way for as long as NIL exists.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with the roster? Because spring will end, and you're going to find out some guys are unhappy where they feel like they're positioned. Other guys are going to be emboldened by what they accomplished in spring.
So you don't think everybody that's on the roster tomorrow will 100% be on the roster in September?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't, Ira.
All right.
I don't.
Some of them will be gone.
I think some of these kids are gone. Now what?
You going to start naming names? Don't do it.
I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But what I will do and what I will say is that I think we're moving into the world where your feelings get hurt. You know, I call this the spring of hurt feelings.
Yeah.
You're going to lose. I think Florida State's going to lose somebody we don't expect. I think a lot of teams will. It's not just Florida State. I think it's the world we live in now. I mean, somebody's finishing their spring football as well, not just Florida State. And they're going, well, damn, we really need a corner. We really need a defensive tackle. We really need a right guard.
Yeah.
And so they're looking around. And they're going to make offers. And, you know, it's going to be fascinating to see which of these collectives, which of these groups.
You mean offers for playing time?
Yes.
Books,
not inducements,
scholarship offers.
Not inducements with money.
Jersey number.
Of course, yeah. But there will be opportunities for kids to maybe, you know, go elsewhere if they're unhappy where they are. And so I'm just kind of mentally preparing myself, and I'm trying to prepare the audience for what I think is going to happen, which is I'm not saying there's going to be a mass exodus. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it would be shocking at all to maybe lose a guy or two that you expected to play for Florida State this year. Wouldn't be surprised.
Well, we joked about it last night after the Florida game. They asked Napier, are you guys going to look for a quarterback in the portal? And he's like, yes.
Did they really?
Yeah. And he said yes.
And he said yes.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So, but look,
every immerse. Welcome to Gainesville.
That'll hurt your feelings.
I mean, look, every coaching staff goes into the spring thinking this guy could make a step, this guy could make a jump, this guy, whatever. And then sometimes that doesn't happen. So you got to go find some players, and this is an age of free agency in college football. So people are going to come coming. And, you know, Florida State's been in the acquisition mode now for 3 years. They've been able to go out and get players they want. And a lot of times the players Florida State's lost to the portal, 95% of them have been players everybody was fine with leaving.
Have a good day.
You're going to lose a couple probably that you don't want to lose.
You're still overwhelmingly
over,
winning the battle. Yeah. You're overwhelmingly winning the battle of guys that you bring in that are really good compared to the guys you lose.
But you do know that doesn't happen in perpetuity.
Right.
So at some point,
especially the better you get,
that's the biggest thing. Like, go back and look at how many players Alabama has lost. They've lost a ton of players off their roster.
It is starting to kill the program. You've seen it, Ira.
Well,
They've lost their.
But hold on a second.
footing.
They had a quarterback that may go number 1 overall, and they took a step back last year.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm not.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, it hurts your depth.
Yeah. So one of the things that you do look at is as you begin to stockpile talent and fill your roster, as I was talking about, well, then you have an excess amount of talent at certain segment groups, and if that's the case, other people notice. It's not surprising to find that out. Look, Florida State, we've talked about it all spring. They got 12 to 13. Now that Dimitri Emmanuel's back, they got 13 to play 5.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be stunning if you lose 2 or 3 guys that you thought were great depth pieces if somebody calls them and says, you can start here tomorrow.
Right.
And like we're not naive. It happens. Yeah. It happens. And I hope it doesn't happen. Nobody wants to see these guys go. They've got something special going on. It's a healthy locker room. But I'm just not going to be surprised if it does happen. And so I think Florida State fans have to be aware that there's some position groups here where they have a surplus amount of players, good players. Running back is one of them as well.
Yeah.
We've talked about that a lot too. I'm not saying they're going to go. I'm saying it wouldn't be surprising if 1 or 2 of those guys go.
What about – I was just thinking about this yesterday because, they're a little limited at receiver, and they always run Toafili out wide with wheel routes.
I love him as a receiver.
And he looked awesome yesterday, by the way.
He looked really good.
Yeah.
Is there any chance they move my man and just make him a wide receiver?
I don't know, man. He's
made dynamic with the ball in his hands.
Catches.
It's not like he's fast he's tough to cover for linebackers because he's a running back. He's tough to cover for all of them.
It's not a bad situation because if he's willing to do that,
right,
then you're really obviously aiding that receiving core that needs a good number 2. I'm not saying Toafili would be, but they have enough guys to tote the rock. They just do. I'm not trying to push Toafili to the curve, but they have enough guys that can run the football, and he is an exceptional catcher of the football. I mean, there are very few running backs that catch the ball as easily as he does.
Yeah, he
over and over again.
Yeah, he had a one-handed catch yesterday, and he got contact. Like he was reaching. Yeah. He got one hand on it, got hit, and still made the catch. He's got really good hands. But if you look back at Mike Norvell's teams at Memphis, some of those guys that are running backs in the NFL that played for Norvell at Memphis didn't line up at running back when they were at Memphis. I mean, he'll use them in different ways, like he'll use Lawrence Toafili. And I think that's why Toafili's a guy who has stayed here because he knows he's going to get touches. And I think Coach Yak, David Johnson, spoke to us yesterday, and people can watch that video at Warchant TV as well. And he said, Lawrence Toafili is a guy, if you get him 10 touches in a game, any of those 7 of those could go the distance. I mean, he's that kind of a threat. That's not to say he's going to get 7 touchdowns, but he's got the he's a threat on a bunch of those plays to take it the distance.
I think it's important to point that out. I think it's a great point that you make, Ira, because they don't have a dynamic wide receiver that is a threat to take it the distance. Right. They don't really have that guy.
I mean, Ja'Kai could be.
Ja'Kai, maybe.
But we don't think
maybe Vandravius, but he's a freshman. Right. That has that breakaway speed.
But Toafili does.
Yeah.
So if you can get him the ball out in space, let him make somebody miss.
Especially if you like Keziah Holmes.
And I think they do. Listen, I think
so. You've got 3 running backs you really like with Rodney, obviously Trey, and then Keziah Holmes.
Well, and I like all the running backs, every single one of them.
I know you do, dog. I know you do.
Yeah, you're just half-stepping on some of these running backs. but listen, the other thing is, though, I think that when they that is a way, you're right, that is a way that you keep people from transferring. Let's just be honest, is you find other uses for it.
Yeah.
And that, you're right. I don't have any doubt that Toafili knows that he is so valuable as a receiver. He probably feels like I don't have to leave, so it'll be one of the other running backs that likely does. Do we think are we going to have a revelation tomorrow in the secondary? Because I got to be honest with you, that is an area of disappointment for me this spring. There has not been an emergence of a star in the secondary. And if you're going to win a championship, you're going to need somebody to be at least a difference maker there.
Right.
Renardo Green is solid. We believe in him as a corner. He's a solid corner.
Yeah.
Finchel Cypress, we think, was brought in to play the other corner. Has not, in my opinion, looked good this spring. He's just been kind of ho-hum. He's up and down. I don't know. Azarieh hasn't taken the step that I thought we'd see him take just yet. He still might. I'm not impatient, but I'm beginning to get concerned that they don't have somebody else that they can really rely on and feel good about. Greedy Vance has had a good camp.
Yeah.
So Greedy Vance
might
be a guy.
Renardo Green.
Same thing in safety
Renardo
guys, by the
Green's
way.
good. I like Renardo Green.
Renardo's
He's a good
solid.
player.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah.
But
You're right. But isn't that cool to have that?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And what a turnaround for him.
Yeah.
But safety guys.
Horrible putter, by the way. He was out there with us today. He was horrible.
You should have seen him try to hit a ball off the tee.
Oh, you were there for that?
I was standing there when he tried to hit his 7-iron, and it went. Well, first of all, he missed the ball.
Okay. Well,
and
look.
then when he did hit it, it went 3 feet. But he's a football player.
He said he just needs a little practice.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right.
None of those guys, by the way, hit the ball well.
No.
Look, I know that you're concerned. You're a little bit concerned about the safeties.
You can hear it a little bit.
You're a little concerned about the safeties. I think Shaheem's going to show out, man. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow, but I think Shaheem Brown's going to play really well this fall. I think he's gonna make plays. I'd like to see Akeem Dent make more plays.
Yeah, but I think we talked about this. We know what Akeem Dent is.
Right.
It is Shaheem needs to be better than Shaheem needs to be good, like great. Like he has the potential to be great. And think about what this defense would be if they had a great safety.
Well, the problem is we assume certain things about guys. I agree with you. I think Shaheem's going to be good. But also, without giving anything away, guys get dinged in camp. You brought up Keziah Holmes. I mean, let's be honest here. That's a guy who I think might have got a little dinged in this first
Some more
scrimmage.
opportunities.
Yeah, and he'll get more opportunities. They're not going to really push anything in the spring, get a guy hurt who's nursing something. And I think some of these guys that we're talking about, not all, and I'm not getting specific, but some of these guys I think have been nursing some things, and they're not pushing it. And they shouldn't. They really shouldn't in the spring.
The other thing that we don't get to see in practice is a lot of it's situational, and you don't have the game flow. So, for example, you don't have a situation where a team's down 14 points and has to throw it, and the defensive line can pin their ears back, and the safeties or DBs can make plays on the ball. Every play at practice is a new play. So if the last one was terrible, they flush it and go on to the next one. I think a lot of times DBs make their big plays when you're taking over a game. So I think they're going to get more opportunities in games than we see in practices. Do you buy that?
Yeah, I do buy it. And
you
I hope
bought
you're
that.
right.
He was selling it, and you bought it.
I sold it.
I was listening carefully because I was about to pounce. And then I was like, okay.
He half-stepping.
Yeah, no, he's got it. He's solid. Any other thing about the spring game? Because before we wrap, we only got a couple minutes here. It was just a quick 30 minutes out here today. Anything you want to point out?
Kicking matter?
That's what I was going to ask you.
I was going to try to avoid kicking. I feel like that job's already been locked up with Etsu. We're good to go there. This is a lopsided affair. It hasn't been very close.
Not quite.
Tom
quite
disagrees, but he doesn't know what he's looking at when it comes to kickers.
Team Ryan right here. I'm still hanging tight.
Well, Ira roots for the underdog. I understand how that is, but I think that honestly, a couple of things about special teams. None of us are real impressed with special teams.
Well,
we just say that, and then secondly,
there has kicking.
Right.
Yes.
And then secondly, we don't know who the punt returner is going to be unless Micah Pittman can get back.
Right.
And it's until it's in question whether he's back there, you don't appreciate what it's like to have somebody that you know is going to catch the ball. You know what I mean? You know he's going to catch the ball until you have that. So right now they have guys back there that I'm sure are very athletic, talented, but can they catch the ball? Micah Pittman, could catch the ball, like Kenny Shaw. You didn't even question it. So that's something they need to develop. And a spring game's a good test for that.
Why do you want to ask a basketball question? What are you talking about?
Is there a basketball question, Tom? Babe, Stephanie.
I'm getting up and leaving.
Stephanie. She went to the bathroom.
All right, we'll save it.
Well, then who else wants to come up here? For heaven's sake.
Pick me!
Who else?
Come on up here.
Because we're not talking basketball.
We are not talking basketball. Just so y'all know, the headlines. Yeah, it could be baseball too.
Well, by the way,
there are 40 people out on the deck, and not one of them could keep her outside.
I think it would have been obvious.
You get through the crowding?
No, not now. Most of them no. Most of them are here. No, but that would have been nice.
That would have been.
Yeah, we got to break the big Bob and Miller news, Jeff.
What's the Bob and Miller news?
All right, well, maybe that's what Tom was texting me about.
Bob and Miller announced he's coming back for another year.
Let's go, Noles. Let's go.
I know a lot of people were thinking he was probably going to have to get.
So there you go, a little 1.2 per game.
Come on,
he's gonna triple that. He's going to triple that. It's going to be 3.6 per game.
I want to say what that is. I'll say that's BS.
I like Baba.
He's going to be a good player, man.
I thought he was going to be a good player.
Good players.
So the people that are watching
and healthy.
All right, so This is kind of funny,
For
guys.
the people that are watching, I'm about to propose
This guy's
to my
about
girlfriend.
to propose to his girlfriend.
It doesn't matter. You don't have to shush. Don't shush. She's not out here, so it doesn't matter.
She can't hear inside?
No, I
There's
hope
no way?
not. If
You
not,
hope
I'll
Right
spoil
now,
the surprise, but I don't think so.
Yeah. So let's see here.
So
So
don't-
now,
And I'm
turn it
doing it
off
under the
yet.
guise that we're about to talk about Taylor Swift.
so we're actually just
Hey,
pretending.
get out of the way.
All right.
Corey wants to hear about
So
Taylor
we
Swift.
got asked a basketball
We got asked a
question, and you
basketball
know our joke
question
about basketball, right?
Is we talk about Taylor
we
Swift.
go straight to
So
I
get
said,
out of
I'm
the
getting up. It's you. I don't
You're
want to
going
talk
to
about
tell.
Taylor
You're going to
Swift.
regale the people about Taylor Swift. Yes, you are. Don't be
Coming
dumb.
on the mic.
We're
Coming on the
doing
mic.
it this way.
I'm not ready to be on TV.
So last year you said that the best day of your life was the golf tournament that you played in.
Yes.
Did Taylor Swift last night beat that? It's a tough one. I know.
I mean, I was with my daughter,
Oh man.
so
So-
I'm gonna say
Well, you can answer the question.
yes, only because I was with my daughter.
I actually had another question to ask you. Would you marry me? Look, man. They're all here for it, you weirdo. It's real, yeah. I'm not giving it back. Can I get a hug? Yes, say yes or no. Good work, babe. You did it. Yeah, so for the people that are watching on the live stream, there's maybe one, and I love Corner Pocket.
Are you supposed to put
There's,
this on me?
oh, I don't know how that works. Yeah, there is one person in America that would not only be okay with being proposed to at Corner Pocket, but would prefer it. And I'm lucky enough to have found the person. And see, this is where you wanted to be. And there you go. All right, okay. It's getting out of control. We're getting out of here. We're getting out of here. God bless her. God bless Stephanie. We did it.